Today's discussion involves the 1999 film The Best Man, and we want to talk about a few topics related to the film, like who committed the worst offense, Lance for being a habitual cheater or Mia for sleeping with his best friend.
And how and when did Mia find out that Lance knew that she and Harper got it on?
And if you stick around until the end, we'll tell you all about how our first fan theory on this movie was a big fail. I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation via Cash App, or you can head on over to patreon.com/Axiom Amnesia to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber. With The Best Man, the final chapter series airing on Peacock, we thought we'd revisit the original film that started it all, The Best Man.
For those of you who don't know, spoiler alert, The Best Man is about college friends gathering for a wedding, which turns to chaos when it is revealed that Mia, the bride-to-be, slept with Harper, the best man, back when they were in college, and Lance, the groom-to-be, finds out the big secret the night before the wedding.
And all of this is revealed in the movie because Harper, a writer, has included the secret love affair in his new book, with the names and situations slightly altered, but it's obvious to most of the college friends who read the book exactly what happened.
In the film, one of the first signs of trouble to come happens when Jordan, played by Nia Long, figures out that the two characters in the book who represent Harper and Mia have slept together.
This whole thing, it makes perfect sense. Mia's Casey, you're Jackson.
Armed with the knowledge of Mia and Harper's affair in college, Jordan can't resist confronting Mia about what happened in an attempt to get the details.
Jordan, good girls never tell. Don't make me hurt you.
But the anticipated blow-up happens when Lance, who has been reading Harper's book, realizes that his best man, Harper, did indeed sleep with Mia, the woman he set to marry the next day.
You fucked Mia.
So after the fight, Lance announces that the wedding is off, and of course, we've all seen the rest of the film where he eventually does marry Mia. But at this point in the film, we had a question. If you were Lance and you found out this information the day before your wedding, would you have married Mia?
We brought this question to you in a poll a while back here on YouTube, and here were the results.
23.5% of you said yes, you'd still marry Mia. But a whopping 76.5%, like 3/4 of you, said that you would have left Mia standing at the altar. Were you surprised by these results?
I was not surprised by these results because at the moment, most of our audience was male, right? So I think a lot of people can identify with the male character here.
And, I was trying to put myself in the mind of a man, but also just if the tables were turned and you find out this information about, your fiance, right? I just don't know. My initial response was to be like, I don't think I could go through with it. And the reason being, not because of forgiveness, because of course the assumption would have to be that I was in Lance's position, right? And I had been this, habitual cheater, which of course would never happen. But the point is, I don't like to know that it was two people who you still are going to have an ongoing relationship with.
Yeah, me personally, I think that, it's easy to say when you're not in that actual position and it's someone who you really have this long, enduring relationship with, to just be like, no, he shouldn't have done that. Because a lot of people who probably said that they would have left her probably can still be with someone right now who have cheated on them with someone who is close to them, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, and then just as far as infidelity itself is concerned, the fact of the matter is that marriages, all sorts of relationships last through it. And so I don't think that alone makes it impossible for people to move forward and beyond the situation. For me, it's the proximity of the person. Now, in this case, they all live in different cities, so it's not like you're going to be seeing them every week and all this and that. But if it was a closer relationship where, they lived in the same city, they're going to be around all the time, I just think it might be kind of awkward to have that knowledge and, not have it re-trigger you every time you're in their company.
Yes, and those are some of our thoughts. Every time we present a poll, we do sometimes ask, what do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments. So here are some of the comments that you all made to justify some of your votes.
I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but EFA, named the sequel, said, "This is the part that women don't understand as to why we're not on equal footing," meaning men and women. If she wanted to cheat to retaliate, cool. I mean, it's not, but if Lance was being honest with himself, he pushed her. He would have had to eat that. But out of everybody in the whole wide world, she picked his best friend, the guy who helps him pray all the time, the one who he's most vulnerable with. That's just evil.
Wow. Does he help him pray all the time?
No, because
I think that came later.
well, no, he I don't think he did it all, because clearly in this movie, Harper is an atheist. And then, of course, it's toward the end of the movie that he finds his religion and feels the need to pray.
King Luck, or King LUC 305, said, Lance was the one that was sleeping around on her with anyone that had a pulse. But the moment Mia cheated on him one time to get to even up the score, he is in his feelings. Besides, she cheated one time that we know of. Yeah, that's how it is, And, we have this double standard. But I think a lot of people feel like that, and it just so happens to be that it happened to the man this time. I think sometimes it could be like that for a woman as well. If the woman is always cheating and then the man cheats, and then the woman is like, why did you cheat on me? Because having trust broken is, just an issue,
Even if you're doing it to the other person, right? Nobody wants their own feelings hurt, which is kind of part of the problem with people who tend to be selfish. And there's no doubt that Lance was very selfish. Mia is portrayed, at least, as being selfless until she takes this particular action. But what I'll say is I'm glad that it was acknowledged by a lot of the guys who weighed in that Lance was wrong. You know what I mean? Kind of like that he was sort of asking for it, as opposed to be like, I don't see a problem with this. So I do at least appreciate that respect. But I think for most of the folks, it's about the closeness of the person. And it's about this notion that women will go for the jugular when they're ready to get back at you. I don't really know if that's exactly true. I go back and forth about whether she ever wanted Lance to find out. Do you think she wanted Lance to know that she did it, or she just did it for herself and was just going to put it in her pocket? Or was it just innocently just what she said it was what she needed at the time?
Yeah, because I think you would actually tell the person, if you wanted to be some sort of get back. So I don't think that's what it is. In the future, if you want your comment included in one of our videos, make sure you do comment on our posts, and videos. And if you'd like to support this channel, we do have a Cash App and Patreon.
So one of the other comments we received was from English 12, who said she could have gotten her revenge with someone else. It was the fact that it was Harper that made it an issue. I think Lance wouldn't have been so angry if it was some other dude years ago. But his best homie, that's foul, because he got betrayed by two people. Mia was only betrayed by Lance when he was unfaithful. Lance was betrayed by Mia and Harper.
Yeah, but how does that contribute to whether or not you're going to go through with it? Because I don't think if it's Harper that you say, all right, now I'm not going to go forward with this relationship with Mia, then you can choose to not go forward with the relationship with Harper.
And actually, what we saw later on in the next movie, in The Best Man Holiday, we find out that it really did destroy Harper and Lance's relationship, because they pretty much didn't have anything to do with each other.
Yeah,
after
so
that.
maybe we have a discussion on that in the future. But is your relationship with your wife or your spouse, who you may not have had that long of a connection with, more important in terms of who you're going to have a lasting relationship with, or which one is more impactful? Which one are you more willing to keep intact?
I think if it's beforehand, I think they all kind of knew each other sort of this very close to the same length of time, if they were all in college together and that's where they met. And because of all of their different backgrounds and being from different places, I do kind of think that they all met in college in one capacity or another. Although it is true, Harper knew both Lance and Mia before Lance and Mia knew each other. They met each other through Harper. I would just say in this case, it's kind of a toss-up. Although he was definitely a lot closer to Lance because that was like his friend, his close friend. And he was semi-close, I guess you could say, to Mia.
And does it matter what type of relationship it is? If I'm a man and I feel betrayed by my boy versus by my woman.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a difference there as well? I would like to know what everyone thinks
Or for
about
anybody,
that in the comments.
right? Or it's your friend versus your partner.
Yeah, like
right?
a platonic
your
relationship
platonic
versus
friend
your romantic.
versus romantic.
Yeah.
How does that impact your decision about this? But I would say it would be different. Let's just say like it was in the movie The Wood, where they had been friends since childhood. Then a girl that one of them meets in college, this is the situation. Well, the loyalty I would think would be to your friend that you knew for all these years, and the betrayal would be bigger for the friend.
Yeah.
And then it would be otherwise.
Yeah. But these are all things that need to be considered when you're thinking about these things.
Mm-hmm.
And JokerMan03 said it would be hypocritical of Lance seeing as he was sleeping around himself and she knew he was and still stayed and married him.
Yeah, so Joker Man is saying it would be hypocritical to not marry her. So he kind of like he had to go through it like he ultimately did. And I think that's a good point too, where your partner is seeing past, I don't even know if you call that your flaws if you're a habitual cheater. But
yes, you could be.
your partner is seeing past your shortcomings and being willing to accept you. But the question is, would Mia have accepted Lance as a philanderer moving forward after they were married? You know, because I think that's a lot of the discussion for anybody, not just men versus women, but the discussion is the expectation of you only being with that one person and not cheating at the point when you get married. Because there are some people who believe that until you're married, it's kind of like fair game. That's what it seemed like Lance did. It seemed like Lance was completely faithful after he got married. So Will J says, absolutely not. Cheating is wrong no matter who does it first. The fact that she got with Harper is where the disrespect even goes deeper. And the fact that Harper knew while looking his boy in the face every day, knowing he banged his woman, is straight disrespect. He lucky he didn't get his A kicked for that. But Lance and Mia and Harper all made their dirt bed, so they all gotta lie in it. Me personally, no, I'm walking away. Nobody would blame Mia if she decided to do the same thing to Lance, because no matter what, once you cheat, that bond is forever broken. I don't care what nobody says.
Well, I don't know about that. Why is cheating breaking the bond? Maybe it breaks some sort of trust, but the trust isn't the bond.
I think the trust is a component of the bond. The trust is not the only bond. And I don't think the one act, depending upon what it is, completely crumbles that either.
Yeah. And I think you can still be bonded no matter what offense someone does against you. Because the bond is beyond that, right? The bond isn't that, well, maybe let's say our bond is we go fishing together and you stop fishing, that will break the bond, right? So it would have to be the thing that joins you, and not sleeping with other people isn't what joins you. Joins you was maybe something else, like maybe personality and all those other things, right? Is what bonded you.
But I think when it falls apart, and what makes it the hardest, whatever it was that brought you together, if it was something very temporary, like, oh, you know, something that wears off quickly, as opposed to the longer bonds, like having things in common, pursuing things together, all of that. Then when they cheat, it's kind of like, I love you because we've been together, but
you
deuces.
used to make a lot of money and, you know, then you stopped, but then you cheated on me and now you don't have that money.
Exactly.
You broke that.
But, you know, it's weird because no matter what, when we're talking about all of these relationships, we always wind up back at this whole thing about what makes a person deserve to be abandoned.
Yeah.
You know, because we talk about how people are like, leave your family, leave the people who don't serve you well. But at the end of the day, you know, what are the things that earn that? And we can try to make it black and white, but I don't think it always is. And, you know, I agree with you that the cheating doesn't necessarily break the bond. And I would say this, like, you can feel very betrayed and hurt, but like, imagine all of the things that other people who are not your romantic relationship, maybe like a family member may do. And then you feel hurt and betrayed, but you don't necessarily abandon them. I think people probably could relate to that a lot more. But the difference is they feel like blood ties matter so much more that you can't possibly be bonded with another person in the same way. And so, and by the same way, I mean like with the same level of commitment and care. And I think that the fact that these things happen proves that you actually can be. You know, imagine there are people who married to their spouse for 80 years. You know, they live to be 100 and be, you always see these stories. And I'm sure things have happened along the way.
Yeah.
That's the only way that you survive that many years is you've overcome those things.
Cooney 241967 says, first off, Harper and her were friends well before Lance came into the picture. Not to mention, Lance was still sleeping with a lot of females before he decided to finally be faithful. That's the reason she slept with Harper in the first place. I don't know. Is there a reason, right? You're like, that's the reason she did it. Is it, maybe it's a reason, but is it an acceptable reason?
Well, and then if you believe, which it doesn't sound like this person does, that it, quote, kind of like just happened in the moment after she was feeling vulnerable and, sad over her situation, then I don't think it's a reason other than in that moment she needed whatever he had to give.
But it may have made it easier to make that decision too.
That's true. But it is important, I think, that they had a bond. So it's not the same as a person who you meet through your boy, like if she had met him through Lance, right? And then she sleeps with his best friend. She knew the best friend first and she dated Harper's best friend, essentially.
Just because y'all two became romantic don't mean that there isn't this other bond that she already had with this other person, like Mia and Lance before.
Ooh, that is like so, you know? I mean, but I feel it. But that's like that sketchy area because I think people feel like no matter what, once you go romantic with the person, that becomes the dominant relationship, period.
Yes, it does become dominant, but it doesn't take away the bond or the connection you have with other people. Especially like when they were, Mia and Harper were basically both writers. Mm-hmm. So you have a closer connection.
They have a lot in common.
Yeah.
You're
both writers. You're both like, I guess you could call them journalists too.
Working on that paper together and stuff.
And this guy is just somebody like this. We could talk about their actual relationship some other time too. But he's just somebody who liked a woman that he saw, right? Mm-hmm. And he plays football and she take care of kids and that's their roles going forward. Mm-hmm. But where is the overlap in their connection? Like what brings them together besides that? She kind of was into football.
She was into it enough to be trying to correct his game for sure. Yeah. I just think what piqued his interest in the beginning was, that he found her to be physically attractive, but then also that she wasn't a groupie because he had so many groupies. So that made her different than the other women because she was like, oh yeah, and you can work on your game and, whatever. And then he was just like, oh man, he gave her a challenge and that had him smitten.
But those were some pretty good comments. Thank you to everybody who commented on this poll.
We should get to the question, who committed the worst offense? Was it Mia, who did this one-time thing, or was it Lance, who was a habitual cheater?
I would say it's Lance, based on Lance's life philosophy. There's no one sin greater than another, but continually committing these same sins over and over. This is compounding versus Harper may be close to Lance and something happened. So, yeah.
I have to agree that I do think that what Lance did was worse. But there are going to be a lot of people like there's going to be arguments in the comments. We know this.
Yeah, because we know that one hurts more. And is it about the person's feelings?
But what about the fact that, like you said, your life philosophy, also the creed by which you live, you're going out there. You didn't care how she felt. You didn't care how many times that she was in her room crying and sniffling. You didn't care about the public embarrassment even, right? Of the fact that you are dating this high profile jock on campus and he's just slinging it everywhere, right? You didn't care about any of that, but then your feelings are hurt. Maybe if you wanted to make it mathematical, maybe they had equal hurt because all of the individual times that she hurt add up to this one big, jarring pain at one time. I don't know. But I would just say I definitely think Lance was more wrong. And I think that it showed an evolution in his character that he got over himself enough to say, I'm going to go ahead and marry her anyway. So another question that came up as things went on was, Was Harper Mia's first? Because they make this big deal about pointing out that Mia was a virgin when she met Lance and when they got together. So did she and Lance sleep together, before, like once they had their relationship? No, I'm saying, did Mia and Lance? So the ultimate question is, was Harper Mia's first? But in asking that question, he would not have been her first if we believe that Lance slept with her, after they kind of got together and he was able to do it. All of this happening before their wedding.
I don't know. That ties into our failed fan theory, I believe.
Which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But yeah, I mean, because it would make it that much worse, right? So Lance is thinking that after he's gone and slanging all around town, that he's about to marry this pristine virgin bride. Isn't that terrible?
No, because
it's not terrible.
Why are you valuing this specific attribute?
What I'm saying is it's terrible because of the fact that this is Lance's creed. So I'm looking at it from the thing that Lance feels entitled to this when he himself is not bringing this to the table. That's what I'm saying. I'm analyzing the character through the character's own value system. Lance is somebody who was basically Bible thumping and kind of trying to be a holy roller on one side, but then was being a complete in them streets on the other side. That was already the contradiction. And then now he's got his mind all set like, yeah, and maybe, because the question is not really answered in the movie. He might be like, hey, I'm going to sleep with a virgin bride on my wedding night. And then come to find out, Harper got it.
Well, so when did Mia find out that Lance knew that she and Harper was smashing?
The film doesn't say, right? But by the time the sequel happens, it's clearly an issue between Mia and Lance's marriage, right? And not like a prominent one, but it's there, right? Because he's redirecting that anger that he has with Mia at Harper. Maybe the one friend who couldn't keep a secret is the one who told.
Yeah, probably. But I think it would have been better if they actually revealed that, because they mentioned that he couldn't keep a secret so much in this original one that they should have brought that up in Holiday.
Well, I also think that the first movie was made as the movie, right?
Yeah.
Although they had no idea it would be such the success that it was.
After you know what you've done in the first one, in the second one, you can bring that up.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing prevents you from doing that.
Yeah, but I imagine that it didn't go well. Now, some of you are probably like, yeah, but she knew that something was up because of the fact that Jordan knew, right? And presumably she eventually reads the books. Maybe the book is how she found out.
See, that makes it even better. You should have revealed it. Because, the dude's writing another book.
I know, right? So that's how I would imagine. Go to the comments and let us know how you think Mia found out that Lance knew about her and Harper's secret. So now it's time for our failed fan theory and us to tell you how our failed fan theory on the movie The Best Man actually went. Some of you probably think we just pull this stuff out of the hat and
nope.
That's not how it works.
So a lot of times we actually come up with a theory sometimes, and while we're watching, or just off the cuff when we're thinking about the film, and then we'd be like, ooh, I may have a fan theory. Then we go back and watch multiple times. But during these times, while we're watching, we're looking for something that says, no, this can't happen, right? Most of the time, when you come up, it can, right? Because it's a fan theory. That's part of it, that as long as there's evidence. But if there is glaring evidence that it did not, is where the problem is, and it fails, and then we just scrap the whole thing. We may have watched the movie 3-4 times with this specific idea in mind, and then be like, nope, moving on.
And that's what we had to do with our first fan theory on The Best Man. We do actually have one that is going to work, but this is it. So basically, Harper's book is called Unfinished Business. He names it this because he really didn't finish with Jordan or Mia, right? So our theory was ultimately going to be that he and Mia shared this intimate moment, but they didn't actually have sex. So the visions of them having sex, recall, all of those visions come from Lance while he's visualizing what happened as he's reading the book and as Mia is walking down the aisle. But essentially what happened was Mia and Harper were just basically holding each other and comforting each other. Maybe they kissed or whatever, but it was not sex. So something inappropriate did happen, but just not sex. So then when Jordan confronts Mia, she says that what she and Harper shared was beautiful and it was what she needed. She doesn't admit that she had sex. So I'm like, yes, this could be a theory that could work. However, later in the movie, we have Harper saying, as he's convincing Lance to go forward with the wedding when they're at the chapel, he's like, and yes, a long time ago, your best man did sleep with Mia.
You can say that. He was just saying that because you can't just go and be like, I did not do it. Right. So Harper himself could be lying about the situation to Lance to get him to go through with the wedding so that you don't have further confrontation.
When Robin arrives, she asks, did you sleep with her? Well, the viewer assumes at this point that she's talking about Jordan, right? Because Jordan was kind of her arch nemesis, the one that she's concerned about being the soulmate of Harper and coming in between their relationship, right? But he says no in response to the answer to this question, right? Now, we know in real life that he didn't sleep with Jordan, but we're saying he's answering the question as to whether he slept with Mia. The reason being because right after she asks him the question, she goes on to talk about how he jeopardized Mia and Lance's wedding. So for us, this question was really about whether he slept with Mia. He just holds these women like, cradles them.
That's what happened in the books. And what they said happened between he and Jordan. Right. That nothing happened. So it could be in both of these situations, nothing happened.
Right. But in his book, he writes what he wishes happened if he had been able to capture the moment in the time. So he's very image conscious. So he uses the book to criticize his friends in the ways that he wouldn't tell them to their faces. And basically, if there was no sequel, we may have been able to explain away the term slept together and all of that with some crafty discussion about word choice. But in the sequel, Best Man Holiday, Robin makes this reference early on to Harper having slept with Mia. Basically, that there was an insecurity about that. And even later in the sequel, Mia addresses how her actually sleeping with Harper had affected her marriage to Lance because, Lance is blaming Harper and it's destroying their relationship. And so this almost fan theory was pretty much dead at this point, and we just had to let it go.
But I will say that it does still hold up because based on the first film itself, and you really shouldn't consider the sequels, but it's just kind of hard not to.
Yeah.
Everyone, even who understands fan theories, are going to be like, but in the sequel, because it still holds up. Based on this film itself, they never slept together.
Yes. And with fan theories, they have to be canon. They have to be in the movie. And one could argue that the sequel is part of the movie. And if there's a trilogy, for instance, if we were talking about The Matrix, then we would have to talk about the first three Matrix movies because I don't honor the fourth one, but we would be talking about the first three movies. This is why this fan theory didn't make it. I think it would have been amazing if it could have made it, but it just didn't. So this is why, now that you understand all of this is why we push back and we say we've seen this movie way more times than you have.
If you made it this far into this nice long video, type not sleeping with other people in the comments so we know you're one of the real ones who stick around to the end.
Yes, and don't forget to like and check out one of our other videos on the screen right now.